As you know by now, in Virginia last night, the voters narrowly approved a new congressional map for the state. It was 6-5, Democrat to Republican. Pretty fair map, pretty balanced. And now it will be 10-1. The Washington Post editorial board called it this, quote, Virginia plunges America deeper into the gerrymandering abyss. But the legal battle is not over. Here to discuss, former Virginia Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli. Ken, thanks for coming on to the show. Now that the referendum is over, I guess you're headed to you've already argued this in front of the Virginia Supreme Court. They've not issued a final ruling. What can we expect here over the next few days or weeks?
Yeah, Scott, this is going to move very fast in Virginia's courts. The precedent here is that the Supreme Court wouldn't touch a case until after the referendum. They consider that part of the legislative process, just like the governor signing or vetoing a bill. So there's no reason to have a lawsuit, or at least to hear and decide it until after that's done. Well, now the yes folks with 4-1 spending have won by about 2 or 3 points, and it is time to get on with the lawsuits. And the yes folks probably are going to look back at Tuesday and think that was the easy part, because they have so badly violated several constitutional provisions. Mind you, we're talking about the state constitution of Virginia, not the federal constitution, that they're going to have a hard time keeping this from being voided by the Virginia Supreme Court. So that's what's next. Briefs are due tomorrow at the Virginia Supreme Court. They're going to have oral argument on Monday. There's another case coming up out of a circuit court in Southwest Virginia that's being heard today.
Not so fast. So, folks, out today, just within the last couple of hours, the Tazewell Circuit Court just ruled the referendum unconstitutional. The election from yesterday in Virginia. The judge entered an injunction blocking certification of the election and denied a motion to stay pending appeal. A final order will be entered once drafted, and it will be immediately appealed. So, folks, this is not over. Again, this will probably go to the Supreme Court, but currently the outcome that we saw yesterday is void. All right, we're going to talk about more. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all as you watch this broadcast. It's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Of course, we have Nicole Bennett.
Hey, y'all.
And Shelly E.
Hi, everybody.
We have a lot to cover tonight, folks. Before we light this fire, do your part. Tap that thumbs up. Smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. We are live here on YouTube. If you're on the go, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out every super chat. So drop your thoughts, show your love, and join the conversation that the mainstream media wishes didn't exist. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off. So let's unpack this. I don't know about you ladies. We saw this coming, but this vote yesterday did pass. They voted to gerrymander, redistrict in the middle of the election season, or not even in the election season. Nicole, your first thoughts before we unpack what's actually happening now.
It was a lot, but I am pretty proud of the Republicans and the independents that showed up. They're outnumbered in the state of Virginia, but they gave them a run for their money. That was a close election. I think it was like 80,000 votes separated, maybe 1 percentage point, 2 percentage points. So it was very close, and people came out to make their feelings known about this redistricting effort.
Yeah, it was very close. It passed by a margin of 51.4% to 48.7%. But look at this, before I get you in on this, Shelly, the actual question was very suspect. Look how they worded the question on the ballot. This is image 2. So it says, should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census? This thing is so loaded, Shelley.
Mhm.
I mean, what are your thoughts here?
Look, I was always taught, thank you, my college professors, if you have to have a sentence that's a sentence that's a page long, then you're saying something wrong. It's confusing and it's on purpose. If you cannot condense and concise what you are trying to say, then you know what? You shouldn't say it. Okay, think of another way. That's what this was all for. It was to confuse people. And don't get me wrong, many ballot questions are posed or presented that way. Here in Baltimore, Maryland, when we vote, there are many ballot questions posed that way. It's on purpose. It's on purpose, people. You can't convince me that that if you have 6 Democratic districts, 5 Republican districts, I can't be convinced that most of the people in the Republican districts will vote to overturn their margin. I don't get that. It just doesn't make sense on the face of it. But nevertheless, there's a reprieve right now, which also means that Virginians and everywhere else across the country, you still have work to do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So folks in the chat, I know you guys are sounding off. Yes, this is true. It hasn't really been reported much. Nicole was the one who actually made us aware, and it was earlier today about this news. But yes, folks, the election that occurred in Virginia last night to gerrymander the state is put in peril. The Democratic push to gerrymander the Virginia elections is in peril. It has been stopped for now. Stayed is what they say in the courts. And it's the circuit court judge said it was unconstitutional. Of course, we know the Democrats are going to appeal it. It probably will go to the Supreme Court, and we're hoping and praying for a fair result there. All right. So, but again, Spanberger, she's such a dirty, rotten liar. Take a look at this next clip here. This is her. Let's see, what this is. This is her before they made this ruling out this evening, where they said this was unconstitutional. The election from yesterday was unconstitutional. Abigail Spanberger was being interviewed this morning. Folks, it's not just Virginia that they want to do this in. They're hoping to win the House and the Senate, and then they're going to make this go across the country. This is clip 1.
That states, districts all over the country now will just go tit for tat trying to do this, not every 10 years, but whenever they feel the need.
I certainly think that is a fair concern, which is why absolutely when Democrats take a majority in the House of Representatives, my hope and expectation will be that there will be serious conversations about redistricting reforms and the process by which all 50 states will take on redistricting efforts. But I think essential to the conversation, as I mentioned, in Virginia, was our commitment to our bipartisan commission. And so I think it's important that every step along the way, we weren't saying, okay, this is the new normal of this kind of tit for tat. We were saying at this moment, we are taking a responsive and temporary step, and we in the Commonwealth of Virginia are committed to getting back to that bipartisan commission. So I think that was an essential part of the discussion here.
All right. So Nicole, I mean, what do you think she means by that? If the Democrats win the House?
Well, listen, it's no secret. They've been saying this since last summer. Their goal, if Democrats are let anywhere near levels of power, what they're going to do is have redistricting at will. Absolutely. Everybody gets counted in the census, whether you're a citizen or not. They're going to pack the Supreme Court up to 13 justices so that they can thwart the quote unquote conservative leaning Supreme Court. And Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. will become states. So they're not playing around. So this is the problem that we have. When we're in power, we want to play by the gentleman rules, right? There's the quorum, and they want to, flap their trap, and the speaker takes 6 weeks to make a decision and all of this other stuff. Democrats come with the playbook and they have no problem getting right to the business at hand. You need an example? 6 months ago, no one knew who Abigail Spanberger was, unless you were very much a Politico. Very much a Politico. Now they're mentioning her name for 2028 because she's done something that no other Democrat in this nation has managed to do. She took a state that was pretty much purplish, and she has made it a Democrat stronghold for the next decade if this ruling stands. She's trampled on their 2A rights. She's made it almost virtually impossible to own a gun and ammunition. You can have one or the other, but you can't have the two together. She has fundamentally changed the culture in Virginia. Winsome Sears' slogan was, "Don't Maryland my Virginia." Can I tell her? They've California your Virginia. It's worse than Maryland. And it's just starting. It is just starting. So look for her in 2028. She'll probably run for VP and will probably do pretty well. She right now is the darling of the party. That's why Barack Obama was standing shoulder to shoulder with her. You know, he doesn't show up for just anybody. He showed up for this in a big way to talk Black Democrats out of giving up one of their majority minority districts. How dumb are you? 20 years you worked for this and you threw it away because the same man who lied to your face told you you'd get it back in 2030. So what happens when you don't get it back?
Yeah.
Because y'all remember, you can keep your doctor. Y'all remember that lie, right? Y'all remember that.
Yeah, Shelley, you're cracking up. What are you cracking up about?
Because let me tell you why. First of all, she had the audacity to say bipartisan, number one.
Right.
Number two, if you read that ballot question and what they're trying to do, basically what they're saying, this is the translation. Give us the power now to take your power away, and we promise we'll give it back to you in 2030. Right. Trust us. That's what they're saying. That's basically what they're saying. Bottom line translation. These people are coming out of the woodwork, boldly. And Mondami, or whatever his name is, I think he was one of the front runners. He said what he was going to do in the beginning, and that's what he's doing. Spanberger, whatever her name is, she's doing the same thing. But just trust them. Trust us with this $3 bill. Yeah, it will cash like your $2 bill, like your $5 bill. It will cash.
Yeah, exactly. But as she said in that exchange, she said that this is something that each state is going to be tit for tat. They said it's going to be tit for tat, and that's what we have coming. But to the rescue is my boy DeSantis in Florida. All right. He is not playing around. Look at what he has coming now. Take a look here. This is clip 6.
As compact districts, it's done in a way that makes a lot of sense. And the reality is if you look at like California, they're doing all this dog and pony show there now, saying, oh, Texas, we've got to combat Texas. California is one of the worst gerrymandered maps there is. What they did, this is how they do. They're like, no, we're going to do an independent commission. So they do a commission. The problem is, it's like if you truly were independent, it's like you would be immune to any type of partisan pressures. But that commission is comprised of liberal Democrats, liberal independents, and very liberal Republicans. I think one of the Republicans is from Berkeley, like not exactly a hotbed of Reagan conservatism. It is what it is. So they hotwired that independent commission to produce a map that was very much gerrymandered and was not something that was fair to Republicans, even at that time.
Right. So what he's saying is they're not doing a commission. He's saying that these commissions are appointed by elected officials. And they're, as he's mentioned, as we know here, they did the same thing here in Maryland. It's set. They know who these people are going to vote. So he believes the fairer way to do this is by legislation. And so now they are, I believe within the next couple of days, they're now going to do a redistricting. So this is what their plan is. And
next week?
Is it this week, Nicole?
Next week.
Next week. Okay, next week. Yeah. They're going to redraw their maps now. He's called a special legislative session going to be next week. And now he's redistricting. Your thoughts on this, Nicole?
It's getting to a point where everybody's going to be pulling out the stops
I
to
know.
redistrict. And as an American, I have an issue with that,
Mhm.
right? Because you're playing with my particular vote. Now, here in Maryland, we know, although what Virginia has done is dastardly and despicable, we had a broken winged pterodactyl for our district's maps. We had the most gerrymandered map probably since Massachusetts Governor Eldridge Gerry in 1812 drew the first gerrymandered map. That's how we got the name. It's named after him. It was a salamander, and the Boston newspapers tore him a new one for doing it. And Boston's never really been a Republican hotbed, but people felt like their voices were being taken, disenfranchised. So the people in Virginia, the way that she got this by them is by one on that ballot question, not saying this is a national issue of which Virginia has injected itself, because Virginia had nothing to do with it. But she's injected herself into that. And she's asking them to give up their voting power to thwart Trump. This is more of her TDS BS that she's got going on. So when we take a look at what the Republicans' response will be, Florida has a better chance of gerrymandering their map and getting it through their legislature, therefore kind of smelling or getting past the smell test with a judge than most states do. Texas the same way, because we have a majority. However, I don't want to see every state in this union carving up their maps just for this one election. Because what's going to happen, some of these maps are never going to come back. They're never going to change. And 2030 is a long, long time from now.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of stuff is going to happen in Virginia before 2030 gets here. So, there's going to be another gubernatorial election, all kind of things. So this is not just an answer to Trump. This is her stacking the deck. And that's why you got such a strong response from DeSantis. It's not so much the national thing, but she's really screwing people out of their voice. And I'm not going to keep harping on it, but how Black people willingly gave up their voice is disturbing to me. It's not so much the race of the people, but when you see Americans willing to give up their voice on who their elected officials are, because the way it's drawn now, everybody in rural Virginia is going to have somebody from Northern Virginia representing them. So imagine that you live in horse country in Ashburn, right? You breed horses for a living, you race horses for a living. What does a person who runs an NGO in Washington, D.C. know about what your community needs? And because your community doesn't have enough votes to unseat them, they don't care. They don't care. So it's really bad for the people. It is really, really bad for the people, regardless of who does it, Democrat or Republican. As an American, this is an issue.
Now, let me ask you, Shelley, because one thing, and you mentioned this sort of, Nicole, there is a big difference between what they're going to do in Florida and what we're doing. Spanberger did in Virginia. And that difference is Florida has exploded in population. I mean, they have so many new people there. It does kind of make sense for them to redistrict at this time. Now, we know he's doing it for political reasons, because they're doing this all over the country. But it does sort of make more sense, and it's particularly as he's mentioned that, they have this much larger population than they did a year ago. And so he's saying they do actually need to do some type of, or address redistricting. What are your thoughts there, Shelley?
Look, every state has its own constitutions. Typically, the reapportionment, if you will, is every 10 years after you get the census. And that's across the board. That's number one. There may be provisions in every state or in the statutes that says if you have an influx of X amount, then you might want to adjust things like that. However, this one state doing it mid-cycle, if you will, is going to spur this battle. So this is the negative consequence, particularly if you want to take it back to starting in Texas. Does Texas have an influx of people? Absolutely. But every time, whomever, like Nicole said, Democrat or Republican, when we change the rules mid-game, so to speak, we have to expect backlash. And many times, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, but in this case, unfortunately, it looks like certainly the people of Virginia, they're very willing to give up their damn rights. I mean, it's like a politician, or again, this appeal to authority, if you will, the white coat syndrome, the expert syndrome. when I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. That's basically what it is. And like Pavlov's dogs, many people, I don't know why, like hard fought wins, hard fought rights. Okay. Just take them because you said so. You must know better than I do. Then go ahead, take my rights.
Yeah, and it's such a big, like you both have mentioned. I mean, this is an egregious display of just unfairness to the Republican Party in Virginia. Take a look here where Scott Jennings is talking about how before this election yesterday, the maps were so much fairer. They were one of the fairest maps in the country, and now they have gone to the least fair in the country. This is clip 2.
Virginia literally had the fairest maps in the nation. They had a 6-5 map, 6 Democrats, 5 Republicans. In terms of proportional representation, they had the fairest map in the nation that was drawn, by the way, by an independent commission that the voters asked for just a few years ago. Now they will have the least fair maps in the nation. And I'm not surprised that the yes vote won. They had all the money and all the lies. And sometimes in politics, when you got those two things, you can put something over the line. Even something as egregious as this whole thing has driven Spamberger's approval ratings down into the toilet. She lied to the people of Virginia. They had to write a ballot question that was a joke. They drew maps that were a joke. Now you're going to have huge chunks of rural Virginia represented by 5 or 6 Democrats who all live in northern Virginia within about 15 miles of each other. It's a complete joke. Everybody knows it. And there's a reason that all these national Democrats and all their money came into Virginia because, they don't really care about the people of Virginia. They just care about.
I agree. So let me ask you ladies this. Shelley, I'm tired of being nice. As a Republican, I'm tired of trying to play by the rules and they giving us their ass to kiss. And they're not playing by the rules. They are doing it. I mean, so egregious. As he mentioned, they went from a 6-5 map to now 10-1 leaning the Democrat. That's not fair. It's no way in the world that's fair. Why do we have to do it then? I'm all for it. If they're going to redistrict in Virginia, let's redistrict in Florida. I'm tired of Republicans, not really just going playing to win. What's wrong with that?
I said almost every show, break the damn law. I mean, there's a time to break the law. I mean, again, I don't mean violence and I don't mean harming people. I'm saying there's a time to push back, a revolution, if you will, like we had at the beginning of our country, the forming of our country. I'm talking about a constitutional, if you will, revolution that we need to take back our country, our constitution. We, the people, the government works for us, not the other way around. And please, 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 if I can stress this 10 times over, know this: any government that takes your rights or usurps your rights, they don't give them back, okay? And not only that, they increase their reach within your rights to get more of your rights. It's the same thing. You give a man a rope, they'll hang themselves, whatever, however the saying goes. It's the same thing. Why do people think that the government knows best? Where, when? Yes, they're good for keeping the lines in the street, keeping us on the right side of the lane, and things like that, traffic, all that, that's fine. But that's it. That's about as much as we need them in our lives. Okay, it doesn't matter how much you give them. The more you give them, the more they take, and the more that you don't get back.
Yeah.
We can't take our eyes off of them. And this is the thing with most Americans just want to live their life. They don't want to have to police the people that we elect to represent us. But what they're showing us is that not only do they need policing, they need 24/7 kind of around the clock care. They're not ready when you see scandal after scandal. And this woman down in Florida, Shefferless McCormick. $5 million. And you're just like, well, I'm just going to step back. No, ma'am. I need you locked up. Stepping back is not a thing. You can go ahead and say, I'm only going to stay in Congress until I earn my pension because they can't take it away from me, like Eric Swalwell. And then you see all of these other egregious things that happen. We still haven't gotten to the slush fund babies or young men or young ladies that have benefited from that. they're not capable of governing themselves. So how do we expect them to effectively govern us? So this is the problem that we have. You know who used to be the watchdog? The press. The press used to be the watchdog. So we've got the White House. Right. The White House Correspondents' Dinner is coming up this weekend. President Trump
is going.
Right. And they're going to talk a ton of trash to his face, inches away from him. And it's going to be a cluster. It really is going to be a cluster. But I understand why he's going, because the American people need a free press, not a Democrat press, a free press, because they're supposed to be the watchdogs. So we don't have to. If we'd have to quit our jobs and be downtown every day, all day long, keeping our eyes on folks. Just think, Maryland used to have in the 90s 8 congressional districts. 4 were held by Republicans, 4 were held by Democrats. Wow. Look at us now.
Yep.
Look at us now. This is the power of Democrat overreach. They said, no, we want a supermajority and we're going to contest every seat until we get it. And that's basically what they've done. We've got Andy Harris representing the 1st district, and that's because the Eastern Shore is staunchly Republican and hardworking about winning elections. It makes me crazy to think that as an American person, they force you to pay your taxes. And I mean force, right? They force you to pay your taxes. Then they take the money and spend it on frivolous things and say, so what? What are you going to do about it?
Absolutely.
Nicole, I want to go back to what you said about the press, because folks, this really says a lot about President Trump. I mean, he's got the press against him, all of them pretty much. Every one of them are biased against this man, okay? We've got the movies, the culture, everyone is against him, but he continues to put himself out there to the press. He is still, to this day, I believe, I don't know this, I don't have the data in front of me, but the last time I checked, he is the most accessible president in history.
Yes.
I mean, he's always answering questions, not with a teleprompter. He's not sending out someone to answer them. He is still making himself available for the press. We couldn't say that about Biden. He was hiding from the press, and they weren't even antagonistic against him.
Right.
So this is what we're talking about. I mean, and they continue to rip this guy, and he is still trying to make himself accessible and exposed a little too much. He says a little too much, in my opinion.
Well, not only him, but his whole administration is accessible.
Right.
I mean, prior to Pete Hegseth, who was the first Secretary of Defense that you can remember?
Oh.
I can remember Colin Powell, Norman.
That's what I was about to say.
People,
yeah, right. Those guys. But when you think about it, who was the dude in the dress, the dude in the skirt from the Biden admin? Right? This is what I'm saying. They have tried to make themselves incredibly transparent. And for doing that, they have been battered over and over and over and over again. It is absolutely relentless. So when we think about the so-called protectors of the democracy, this is how the press describes themselves, they're not helping. They're not helping when they only look on one side. You know, when I tell you there's Democrat infighting, I don't mean that people are passing, notes to each other and it says, I don't like you, don't park over here no more. I'm talking about people are going to blows. Eric Swalwell was one of the golden boys. And in 72 hours, he went from the front runner for governor of California to out of Congress altogether.
Right.
That's a big fight. Let me tell you,
let me say this before I read these super chats. I wanted to add something to what I was talking about, the government, how big it gets. One of the reasons that comes to my mind of certainly this Virginia election, how they really literally voted to give their own rights away. I think many times when this happens, if not all the time, when it happens, because I think it happens because most the Americans, many of our fellow Americans really think that they're supposed to get everything from the government. They look to the government to run their lives. They look to the government to fund their lives. And so they think, I believe, that when they vote this way, I'm going to get back XYZ. The government owes me. So that's what I think the mindset is, or at least part of it behind
Shelley,
this.
I think it's ignorance. Like we just mentioned how the press is, and now we're inundated with the press more so than ever before. We've got 24/7 news. not just on the TV in the mainstream media, we have it online. Now they're talking. I mean, back in the day when I was young, they didn't talk about politics on regular radio and music radio, urban radio. Now they have it on there. They're talking about it at the award ceremony. People are ignorant of the facts, and they are inundated with lies, with embellishments, with misinformation that is geared towards, that supports the left. That it really takes mental toughness, a strong mind to push back in against the lies. But I know you got
that's the Laffer curve in action. That diminishing return. The more news,
and this is why folks,
exactly.
Yep, and this is why you got to share us, folks. Share this broadcast as you come in. Hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and subscribe. We have a goal to hit 250,000 subscribers by at least before or by the 250th anniversary. One of you guys mentioned that. That's a very good point. And so please, folks, share, and subscribe.
All right, let's see what our super chatters are saying tonight. Thank you for joining us. We have Gimpy. Thank you for your $2.
Wow.
Also, one of our mods. Thank you for your $2. Show your love, folks. Support the channel.
Absolutely.
Show your love. That's right.
Thank you,
Josh.
Gimpy.
Hi,
Thank
Josh.
you.
Thank you for your $20 super chat and for being a member of our Freedom Seekers Club. I'm sorry, but I want President Trump to be more like Putin or Orban in Hungary and demand that his party pass sweeping legislation to protect our country. You speaking to the choir. All of his executive orders must be codified. We've been saying that since last year, Josh. Thank you so much, Josh. Who else do we have?
Thanks,
We have who's that?
Arlene Love.
Arlene, I thought it was okay. Arlene, thank you for your $5 super chat. I love watching and listening to you ladies. It is so refreshing to see intelligent, educated Black women with common sense. Thank you, Arlene, for stopping by.
Right.
Everybody else, hit that like, share, and subscribe in that chat. The links are there. We'll post them again. Again, we have a website where you can get all of your merchandise in one-stop shopping. You can also chat with us periodically on Discord. Go there and do that as well. But hit the like, share, and subscribe and the notification bell so you will know when we are on live.
So check out our merch. This is a great way to support the channel and to look good doing it. We will definitely post your picture if you send it to us. And that Trump shirt is coming in awful handy. These people are crazy. I would like to wear that to the RNC and just walk around the room and say, yep, y'all folks is crazy. There's scuttlebutt, rumors, innuendo that there'll be a second big, beautiful bill.
Oh.
And I'm hoping not. Let's not roll everything into another big old thing. Can we just pass some legislation the way that it's supposed to be passed, right? Can we not delay and just get back to work, fellas? Let's just chop the tree down. Let's chop the tree already. Everybody do your part. Contact your Republican legislators and let them know that we want them to work now, not later. We want them to work now, not later. Let's not put it off and roll everything into one big bucket. When it's smaller, it's easier for the public to understand. Very much easier for people to understand. So this would be a great shirt if you were going to the halls of Congress. You could sit anywhere you want, and all them folks is crazy. It would come in definitely handy. I don't know if I go with the tie-dye. I'd probably go red or black.
Yeah, I don't know why they put that up there.
Maybe a white one would be good, but the black one, it looks tremendous. It looks tremendous to me. But there are lots of things you can get. You can get stickers for your laptop or your car window. We have crossbody bags. There are pillows. Anything that you could probably think of is available here in our merch store. And I believe there's a button that you can push when you're on YouTube, even on your cell phone, that will take you to the merch store. So if you can go to the website, you can go here. If you come to our Discord, you'll see some pictures that I posted from behind the scenes. I fancy myself a very amateur photographer, and I take some pretty artsy fartsy pictures. KJ and Shelly are very good to me. They let me take all kind of weirdo pictures of them, but they come out great, right? It looks weird when I'm taking it, but they come out great. So go on and check out some behind the scenes stuff. And if you want to have a chat with us when we're not online, Discord is the way to do it.
All right, folks. All right. So speaking of these Democrats, oh my gosh, these people are low down. we got to talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center scandal. Oh my gosh, folks, we got to really get on our game because these people are so low down. They lie, they cheat, they steal. They're trying every way they know how to gain and maintain power. So for years, the Southern Poverty Law Center has positioned itself as the moral referee of America. I mean, they label conservatives, Christians, and constitutional patriots like us as hate groups while collecting millions in donations off fear and political propaganda. But now the hunter may have become the hunted. So according to a federal grand jury indictment, the DOJ says the SPLC may have been funneling millions to members of extremist organizations, including people tied to the KKK and so-called conservatives. When they were blaming Israel, when in fact, these conservatives who have been coming out against Trump, low-key, they've been getting paid too, while hiding it from donors and using fake entities to cover their tracks. All right, folks, let this sink in. The same people calling us dangerous may have been financing the very extremism they claim to fight. This is clip 3. Take a look.
Is to announce what the general just told you. The Southern Poverty Law Center, in a massive sweeping indictment, has been charged with allegations of fraud and using the banking system to perpetrate that fraud. I just want to talk about a couple of brief things here. The Southern Poverty Law Center themselves advertise to raise money to dismantle violent extremist groups for a period of at least a decade. They use their donor network to raise money to purportedly dismantle violent extremist groups. However, the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used the money they raised from their donor network to actually pay the leadership of these very groups. Wow. I just want to say that again. They used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups. The groups, as the general laid out, include the Ku Klux Klan, the United Klans of America, Unite to Right, National Alliance, the National Socialist Movement, the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club, and the National Socialist Party of America, and also the American Front. In at least one of these matters, our investigation revealed that funds were used to facilitate the commission of further state and federal offenses, totaling over $3 million. Furthermore, our investigation revealed that the Southern Poverty Law Center, on top of perpetuating this widespread, decade-long, multi-million-dollar fraud, conducted more criminal activity. They attempted to hide their criminal activity from our financial banking network. They set up shell companies and entities around America so that the financial institutions that we rely on as everyday Americans were deceived in believing that money was not coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center in the perpetration of this scheme and fraud, but rather fictitious entities they stood up to perpetuate this ongoing fraud. This is a serious and egregious violation of a group that purported to dismantle violent extremist groups, but in turn actually only fueled the hatred. This is an important case brought by President Trump's administration. We're thankful to the president for his leadership and funding of not just the FBI and DOJ, but his commitment to go out there and wipe out fraud and conspiracy and waste and abuse wherever it occurs.
All right. I remember reading, I mean, the SPLC was started by Martin Luther King, I think was one of the founders, if I'm not mistaken, back during the 50s and 60s. Yes. I mean, and to hear that now they're being used to put up the same people that used to harass, maim, and do all kinds of things to civil rights leaders. Nicole, I mean, this is extraordinary.
And what's extraordinary, KJ, is they can only prove it for 10 years. Let me just go down that rabbit hole. What if they've always been funding these activities?
Wow, yeah.
What if It's always been that way. This is what happens when we're not looking. When they're talking about setting up organizations and shell companies, you know, the next shirt we should make should say follow the money. Because that's, if you follow the money trail, you're going to find out. And from the bit that I've read about this case is that, you know, Biden's DOJ knew about it.
Right. We're going to talk about that. Mhm.
Chose not to act.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'd like to know, and I'm sure it's more than $3 million, but I think 3 million is what they can prove. And it begs the question, how many more of these civil rights era organizations can we prove that they're grifting us, that they're scamming the American people?
Easy. Just assume all of them. Number one, but no, KJ, you talking about the Southern Christian Leadership. That's for
that's
okay.
SPLC.
Yeah. But let me say this. Number one, I laughed because I was not surprised at all. When we talk about on here about these NGOs and 501c3s, the shell games that they play. Cash Patel used the correct word, shell games. And yes, the Southern Poverty Law Center is a 501c3 in as much as it's a big organization. They don't necessarily get all of their money from the federal government, but because they are a nonprofit, they do get some taxpayer funded grants. Give us our money back. Number one. Number two, I was looking at the indictment today, reading through the indictment, and I got to this section about the banking, how they set up these false accounts, basically, right? They had people who were quote unquote the CEO or the chief financial officer, and they set up bank accounts. But guess what? They didn't have ID. The companies that they were using to set the bank accounts under, they were fictitious. They were not even in existence, or they were false. I said, wait a minute. Do you mean since the Patriot Act, okay, because the Patriot Act was supposed to stop all this, it certainly stopped average American citizens from just going to the bank and opening up an account. You had to damn near give your mother's maiden name, bloodline, all that stuff just to open up a simple bank account. But these jokers could open up accounts without any legitimation, no ID, basically. That's what it sounds like. So this is why I say these 501c3s are a joke. This is why I'll say our government is doing every damn thing but what it needs to do, okay? And the American people, we're still getting all of the FUs and whatever else, and we're the ones made to literally carry the load. I mean, this is utterly inexcusable. I know they're finding it now, but maybe, just maybe, if our government actually focused on the fraud, waste, and abuse that it needs to do, then the American people, we can get rid of some of these burdens and we can just live our lives like we're supposed to. And in the meantime, give us our damn money back.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you, well, I have two questions. So I'm a little confused on how the government is involved with this.
What do you mean? As far as what?
Because I thought that this was the SPLC was a separate entity, but an arm of how it was an entity that the Democrats were using to fraud or to commit these frauds against conservatives.
That's part of it. The SPLC is its own nonprofit. It's a huge nonprofit. They apparently, according to the indictment, like you said, they get donations, they get taxpayer funds because they are a 501c3. So that's the federal angle, if you will, where they can get grants. They get that money, and then what they do, they pay. It reminded me of Safe Streets. You know that the word Safe Street, what is it called? The violence interrupters. They pay these people, but on the other side, the people that they're paying to stop, quote unquote, to stop the racism, they're paying the opposite people to go out and create. Yes. So this is what it's a fraud.
But why are they doing this? Who are they doing this on behalf of?
Oh, they're making the supply and the demand. They're meeting the supply and demand to say that it's racism in America, to say that whites hate blacks or whatever the case may be. They are creating the supply and they're meeting that demand. They're meeting that demand for that supply. It's like they're washing each other's hands without them.
Who is hiring them? Why are they doing this?
The SPLC is hiring them.
They're their own non-governmental organization, right? So as that, they're eligible to apply for federal grants, which is our tax money, right? and they can collect donations. But in order to meet the grant standard, I mean, if theoretically there are no Proud Boys, because they think the Proud Boys is a hate group. If there are no active race groups, then there really is no need for what the Southern Poverty Law Center does, right? So they have to manufacture right the incidents in order to qualify for the money to continue to make the donation, so they can all get paid. And they strike a blow for their quote unquote cause of driving division among Americans. So,
but do you believe that we will be able to connect the dots to them being used by the actual Democrat Party officials, people in power within the Democrat Party?
That may be, but even if that may be the case, that doesn't have to be, because what they're doing on their own right is illegal. It's fraudulent. Whether or not the people are Democrats or Republicans, the people that they're using, that may come out. I'm not saying that's not possible, but as an entity itself, they are committing fraud. That's all. Whether they're Democrats or Republicans, they are committing fraud.
So from what Cash was saying, yes, they're committing fraud, but the fraud that makes it a federal thing, it's fraud against the banks, right? Mm-hmm. It's highly illegal to open up a fraudulent bank account. Being a shell corporation sounds kind of harmless, except for the FDIC, right? All of these accounts are federally insured up to a certain dollar amount. And when you open up a bank account, all that small print that nobody reads, this is why they're in hot water. So I think if they indict high enough people up, and I don't mean like slap on the wrist, I don't mean 18 months and a $500 fine. When they start talking about real jail time in federal prison, you're going to see a lot of names come out. Now, what they do with those names, who knows? Because we haven't seen enough prosecutions. We haven't seen any fancy handcuffs on anybody, and we need to see more of that. It's one thing to expose it. It's another thing to correct it. I've seen enough of the dark underbelly of NGOs and organizations. What I want to see now is prisoner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across somebody's chest. Right, exactly. I want to see action, because if I can't get my money back, I want my pound of flesh.
But
that's just what it is.
The SPLC, it wasn't like they had their hand or their agenda was in all different pots. It went one way. Mm-hmm. I mean, these people, the indictment said they paid field sources, were actively promoting racist groups. Absolutely. While the SPLC publicly denounced those same groups on their website, and the groups were against the right.
Absolutely.
They were funding the opposition on the right. So I think that's very important for us to get out here. Okay. These aren't, this group was not, it wasn't doing different things all over the place. They specifically were working to cause turmoil for Republicans, for conservatives, for Christian conservatives.
Just for Americans.
Alleged that they helped coordinate transportation for people attending Charlottesville's Unite the Right rally. Take a look here. This is clip 4.
Charlottesville and the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally. Were they involved in that?
Yes. So what we allege in the indictment and what the grand jury found is that one of the individuals that they paid was one of the folks who helped organize that terrible event. And so so imagine what we're talking about, Laura. We're talking about an organization that actively came out and just screamed it from the top of their lungs.
So just so people understand watching this, did these informants in some cases, given the evidence you've seen, actually initiate what would ultimately be these activities? And obviously Charlottesville ended with a tragedy.
Well, we know that they were part of those. They were part of it. Whether they were the leaders or the initiators, that'll come out, I think, eventually. But what we do know is that the very entities that this group was raising money to go against are the very entities that they were taking the money in and paying to these entities and these individuals associated with those groups.
What was the money used for?
Well, we don't know, because again, all we know is that they set up these fictitious bank accounts.
Fake names, like the Constitution Group or whatever it was called. Then they had one called Fox Photography.
Right, completely fictitious as far as the investigation has shown, and they were using it simply to funnel money to these individuals. The indictment talks about a situation where they paid an individual to steal documents from the organization and then return the documents, and then when somebody else took the hit for it, they paid that person too to take the hit for that. And
so this runs deep, okay? And what happened? So when we saw these this type of things come up, like Charlottesville, and any of these they were involved in a lot of racial hoaxes. It always benefited the Democrats, okay? And what happened? The Democrats capitalized on many of these hoaxes, of these racialized events. This is Biden and the Democrats talking about Charlottesville, if we recall, in clip 5.
Remember what you saw on television. Remember seeing those neo-Nazis and Klansmen and white supremacists coming out of fields with lighted torches. And remember what the president said when asked?
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Their veins bulging.
He said specifically that he was condemning them.
No, he did not. He said he walked out and he said, let's get this straight. The veins bulging on their, as they were screaming. Remember, just close your eyes and picture what it was. Their veins bulging. Their veins bulging. Nazi sympathizers carrying Nazi fags. Veins bulging. It's their veins bulging. Veins bulging. Veins bulging. How are you, baby? How old are you? Their veins bulging. It's their veins bulging. Bulging. Veins. Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys. Their veins they're bulging. Their veins bulging. Their veins bulging. Veins is bulging. Bulging. Fewer. Have you ever heard this president say one negative thing about white supremacists? Have you ever heard it?
Racism is evil.
Damn it.
And those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as America.
Of course he did. But they continued this idea of saying, according to what we saw, the SPLC and the hoaxes and stuff, they rode that donkey until the donkey was dead and tired. They rode that whore all night long till she was raw and used. They continued over and over again, and they did it. Why? Because they orchestrated the whole thing.
That's the point. And so again, they rode that donkey until he didn't bulge any damn more. I mean, he had no more.
He was hee-hawing all night long.
Yes, he did. Look, above and beyond, again, I don't dispute that Democrats were involved in this. I'm not disputing that at all. But above and beyond that, the absolute egregious thing that the SPLC is being accused of and indicted for, they stoked racism and division and hate among Americans who otherwise get along pretty well, relatively well across the board. Okay, that's what they did. They took that 1% that you don't really see much. They took that and made that the 90%, and then the SPLC to the rescue. They didn't tell you that they were the ones starting the damn fire, but they pretended to be the firemen to come and put it out. All on taxpayer money, well, most of it, and certainly with a whole lot of fraud.
You know what they did is they played the card that unfortunately some Black Americans find irresistible: emotionalism. I was talking to a friend today, and the conversation centered around why some of Black America just can't let go of the slave narrative, of the victimhood narrative. How hard would it be to live your life thinking that somewhere along the line that one of your ancestors who fought and died to be free suddenly wants you to be captive again. I mean, that has to be a heavy load. And if that load was lifted off their shoulders, maybe, just maybe, they would be able to do some social mobility, some financial mobility, and move up the ladder and flourish a little bit. But they can't get by it. And we had a pretty robust discussion around that, because for some people, dependency is all that they know. It's a generational curse and no one's yet broken it. But you can't discount things like this. When people are trying to take a step away from that, here comes these groups going, oh, no, here's the Klan. The Klan still exists. And your great grandfather had a problem with the Klan because they wouldn't let him drink, anything other than red soda or some kind of dumb shit. And they believe it. It stokes this raw emotion. And then suddenly they're riled up for something that never happened, something that doesn't affect them. And you got 10 dudes standing around in Charlottesville, walking around with their suspenders on, and it's an issue for all of Black America. This is where the sinful part, now I'm glad they're criminally, but sinful, this is where the sinful part comes in, because sowing that kind of hatred and evoking that kind of emotion is just not right. It doesn't work for the general community, and it certainly does not work for Black folk. Certainly does not.
And you mentioned Charlottesville to a Black person. I went to Charlottesville. I spent we were there for like a week. It's a beautiful area, area, fun, nice area. We went every time I mentioned, I said, oh yeah, you know what? You should check out Charlottesville. We had a good time. Me and my family went there. Charlottesville. What about the tiki fires? What about the tiki candles? Oh my God, you went to Charlottesville. It's like these people are triggered by the mere mention of Charlottesville, Virginia. It is really, really strange, folks. It is. And even on our side, you have some Black conservatives who, as conservatives as they are, they will continue to ring the bell of racism and reparations. Folks, I don't care about it. I don't care if I do believe the debt is owed, but right now, in the grand scheme of things, as a Black person, I think we need to, one, stop begging, stop saying what's owed, and start building. Building.
That's what we did after the civil rights, and after slavery and Reconstruction. That's what we did. We have some super chatters here. Let's do the super chat run. We have Sean. Thank you for your $10 super chat, Sean. Good evening, ladies. God is good. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. We have 3 equals 3. I'm sorry. Excuse me. 3 equals 1. 3 equals 1. I'm sorry. My throat is dry. My throat is dry, and no, I ain't had nothing bulging in it. This is for your $10 super chat. Thank you. Loving this podcast, smart, edgy, and conservative. Thank you. Hi, Yanni. Thank you for your $10 super chat. This is disgusting. Hey, Yanni. Why are the terms Democrat and fraud now synonymous? Good point, Yanni. Absolutely. Thank you, Wood Dragon, for your $10 super chat. Thank you for stopping by. And Josh is back again. Thank you, Josh, for your $20 super chat. We had a group of Proud Boys come in the bar one night last summer. And they were totally non-racist. Fun guys, and lots of them were actually gay. They were all about fighting immigration and closing the border. Absolutely. Thank you, Josh, for that. Yeah. Everybody else, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I want to get a swig of water here. And don't forget, follow us on Discord. Get your merchandise. One-stop shopping.
Absolutely. Get your merchandise. Listen, there are going to be so many A250 celebrations. You want to be appropriately dressed. This would set you apart in the crowd. T-shirts run the gamut. Kind of political, definitely political. So you can find something for everybody, even for something for people who are not political at all. The black, not white American T-shirt is probably, I would say, the most non-political T-shirt, because it just talks about being a good American and not letting people divide us. Josh, to your Proud Boys comment, I will tell you, during the inauguration, when we were riding the metro train down to the Heritage Foundation to watch the inaugural, because it was, I think, like -10. It was crazy cold. When we got off the train and we walked upstairs, this is before the National Guard came to town. Guess who was at the top of the stairwell? The Proud Boys. And they lined the way all the way down the street to Heritage. And it was very safe. And they were very nice and very kind to everybody, every shade, every color, every sex. But they were most assuredly nice to the women who came. And they were like, button your shirt up and bundle up. The wind's going to blow when you get around the corner, that kind of thing. So we've always had a really good relationship with them. They've always been very kind, very trusting. Whenever I saw them at events, I've never had an issue. Never ever had
a Proud Boy versus a Biden any day over a Biden any day.
Every single day. They were absolutely lovely.
All of it was orchestrated. Every last one. Here's another clip of acting AG Todd Blanche talking about how, as you mentioned, Nicole, the Biden regime actually closed the investigation into the Southern Poverty Law Center. So this was on they were on people's radar, and the Biden administration shut the investigation down. This is clip 8.
Mr. Acting Attorney General, how did they get away with this for so long?
I mean, it's a great question. I said today during the press conference that we know that this investigation was opened during the Biden administration and then mysteriously closed. I really don't have any information about why it was closed. And then we started again last year, the FBI did, working with the U.S. Attorney in Alabama. And it's extraordinarily egregious. You just talked about it. But imagine a donor to the SPLC if they were told, by the way, we're going to give the money you're giving us to the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, like in some cases over $1 million. I mean, it's incredible.
Now, they say they're no longer using these informants in this way and that it was necessary because they had all sorts of threats against the organization, firebombing threats and other acts of purported violence. And that's why they had to use these informants. And to that, you say?
Well, to that I say, for one, the indictment charges all the way through 2023. So I'm here to speak about what they're doing right now, but that indictment charges a long period of time through 2023. And second, and more importantly, there's no allegation or information in the indictment that suggests they shared that information with law enforcement. They have communicated.
They said they did.
Well, they have communicated when they so chose with law enforcement over the years. There's no information that we have that suggests that the money that they were paying to these informants and these members of these organizations, they then turned around and shared what they learned with law enforcement. To the contrary, or else we would have known from their own words that they had given this money to these guys, and we didn't know it.
Wow. Yeah. And Nicole, what are your thoughts there?
I can't wait for the trial. I can't wait for the trial. I can't wait for them to start flipping on each other. I can't wait for this thing to get really real when it's no longer just, an indictment, when it becomes people need to lawyer up. I cannot wait because they're going to flip. These people are going to start telling names, and KJ, that's when we're going to get to the bottom of it. That's when we're going to see who really was bankrolling, who was running point. It's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see where the money leads us to. It would be interesting if it led us to DNC headquarters. That would be something.
Doesn't it sound like Safe Streets on a bigger level? We got the informants, we have the violence interrupters, we had the mayor taking taxpayer money to give it to these groups, and then we can't know where money goes. It sounds like Safe Streets. Maybe this is where he got the idea from. Brandon
this is where they all have these. It's almost like a mafia network. Yes. They all have these sort of organizations, these companies that they use to do their dirty work, do their dirty work. And somehow they funnel money to them because they're all sort of, what do you call it? When it's a fake company.
A shell company.
Not shell company, it's fronts. They're fronts.
Oh, yes.
They're fronts for other nefarious activities. That's what it is. But guess what? It doesn't just lead to the DNC. Folks, they are saying that there are credible evidence that it leads also to our side. There may be people within the conservative movement that were actually being paid to push against conservatism, to make us question certain people, certain things. And that leads us to Tucker Carlson. Take a look at this next clip. This is clip 9.
I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. I mean, we're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind. or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional. That's all I'll say. But anyway, the question does present itself immediately. Like, what is this? Was this always the plan? You don't want to be a conspiracy nut, but like clearly there were signs of low character. We knew that.
Yes.
But it didn't. There are tons of people of low character who like outperform their character. It doesn't have to be
sort of the norm, actually, these days. I would say
I've outperformed my character a lot. I don't have especially high character, right? But you try your best. But what was this? Was this always the plan?
Looking back after the last year and a half, it seems like it kind of was, and it's easy. Well, you could get really deep about it and say, what was Butler? Like, how was it that and Ryan Ruth, I mean, he was subject to 2 legitimate assassination attempts. Have we ever gotten to the bottom? I know you've talked a lot about this, but have we ever gotten to the bottom of that?
I haven't talked a lot about it. I don't know the answer, but I know that those investigations have been stymied. Fact.
Yeah, stymied from the very top, from people who actually would have the power to get to the bottom of it.
And the motive.
Yes,
yeah,
very much. So the enormous amount of money he got from Miriam Adelson now seems suspect to a lot of people at the time. But, there's a lot of money in politics to run for president.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we have a photo? I don't know. Look at this. Look at this. This right here is all I had to. If this is a photo for you all who are not able to see this of Tucker Carlson and his brother Buckley and Tucker at the studio in fully dressed up from head to toe, and they're barefoot. And Buckley has on these flip-flops with his legs crossed. This is weird. Oh my gosh.
Okay, you know what, KJ? Let me interrupt you here. That dog is perfectly normal. The dog is a good-looking dog. He looks like a good dog, like he minds all of his orders. But everybody else in that photograph is suspect. I'm just gonna say that. They're sus as hell. They're super
And let
sus.
me say this. I'm not saying it because I have family from the islands. Men can wear flip-flops. I have no issue with that. But they're sitting there. This just looks weird. What men ask you to take a photo like this? It's weird. They just creep me out. I mean, when I saw this photo and I watched that clip, I just started itching. I was like, ooh.
I started getting the air freshener to spray.
That's what I was about to say, Shelly. It looks like it smelled like cheese in there. But I'm gonna say it's just weird because it appears to be some sort of log cabin situation. And the last thing you think of when you see a log cabin is, bare naked feet on a rug and flip-flops.
It just was bizarre.
With your khakis.
And you know what they
turned
do
up on the bottom.
Since you mentioned the dog, Nicole, you know what they do. He keeps his shoes off, he crosses his legs, and he lets the dog lick his toes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Again, KJ, you want to lay off the dog. The dog is doing a great job. It's a great dog.
I'm sorry. I feel bad for the dog. I like the dog, but the dog
American
is
patriot
licking
dog.
toes. The dog is
like
licking
he's gonna
toes.
vote Trump for the rest of his day. This dog looks good. He looks like a Marco Rubio supporter. He's a great dog.
So let me respond to what Tucker was saying. So Buckley, right? That's his brother's name, Buckley.
Yeah, with
so
red face.
Tuck and Buck there. First of all, they're talking about these Muriel Adelson. Let's say this, number one. Unfortunately or fortunately, our political system does allow super PACs, lobbyists, whatever, to influence. That's exactly what it does. Good, bad, and different. They influence our politicians. That's number one. But something else he said, and I wrote it down here. that they single out Miriam Adelson and her husband. I think her husband's name is Sheldon. They've been given to Republican causes for decades, not just for Trump, but for decades. Okay. And again, across the board, we have Democrat donors, mega donors as well. They do influence. They do that. They do get access. Now, whatever else they may get, I don't know in particular, but they do. If you give money to a campaign, particularly at a super PAC level, you do want something in return. You want access, you want influence, you want your policies to be able to be discussed or debated. That is a fact. So I don't know why that was so. I don't know what his point was, but I wanted to say
the point. We know the point.
That's what I wanted to say to Tucker. Stop with your faux melodrama. Like you were so important that you had the will and the wherewithal to convince everybody to vote. Nobody voted for Trump because of you, Tucker and Bucker. Or Buck, whatever your name is. Nobody voted for Trump because of that. Whether or not they want us to still support him or disagree with him, that's a whole different issue. You are not so up there. Your megalomania and your faux empathy and sympathy and your sorrow, bullshit. Okay, that's what it is. You are not that important.
Thank you, Shelley. I 100% co-sign on what Shelley said. I have two very strong suggestions. One, turn a damn light on. This is the darkest damn podcast. What are you sitting in the dark, barefoot, naked with your brother talking trash? This is ridiculous. Put the damn light on, Tucker. Put the light on. Your brother looked like Rudolph the red-faced reindeer in there. His face was so bright red because there's no light.
Oh, he probably was sipping on some whiskey or brandy. You don't get a red face like that, and I have been drinking alcohol.
He had the bottle of Smart Water on the floor next to his flip-flop. I mean, at some point,
he probably got to get
vodka. That might have been. You never know. But they have to get that together. And secondly, it's one thing to say, I encouraged you to vote for this candidate. This is the candidate that I'm voting for. Make your own decision, but this is the person I support. If I'm remembering correctly, that's all he did. He didn't knock any doors. I didn't see him outside anywhere knocking on doors. He certainly wasn't in Philadelphia with the rest of us. But I will say this, his hubris is gargantuan.
Yeah.
To think that just by saying, I intend to vote for Trump and you should too, some way moves America. He's the complete opposite of Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, who actually helped to win, said, listen, I'm going to vote for Trump and these are the reasons why. And let people make their own decision. That's the way you do that. Nobody voted for Trump because Tucker told them to. No one voted for Trump because Megyn Kelly said to. Nobody voted for Trump because Candace said to. Again, you're entertainers. And although you think you're much more than that, you are simply an entertainer. And if you went off the air 2-3 weeks later, people would be like, what was that guy's name who had the dark podcast? He was sitting there with his brother with his shoes off. Yeah. That gap would fill in very quickly, Tuck. It really would. So please come back down to earth with the rest of the folk. And you do good work when you're wanting to do some work, but keep Trump's name out of your mouth. Make it easy for the rest of us to like you again.
Exactly. And like you mentioned, Shelley, this guy is such a liar. So we know that when he was at Fox News, the text messages that he sent were leaked and he hated Trump. He hated President Trump. Right. He never liked him. Okay. He only acted as if he liked him because President Trump was carrying a lot of sway on the right. He won the election, in a great deal, and he was on top. Now, President Trump, it's his last term. They feel like MAGA will die after President Trump. And so now they're like vultures. They're like vultures. And he's lying. He never liked President Trump. He was only on the bandwagon because everybody was. And now he's showing his true colors because he's being paid by somebody to try to sow division on the right.
Yeah, that smug piety is what gets me, really.
Yes.
I mean, it's so fake, it's so phony, that he has such influence, and I want to apologize for that, whatever. No, you're not all of that. I mean, fine, talk to you and Buck, talking Buck, Fucker and Bucker and whomever else, all of you all, just, you're not that important, okay? You're only important in your own mind and thankfully to your families and your friends. That's about it.
It's cringy. It really is cringy, especially when the fake piety comes along. I'm a stand-up man and blah blah blah. I never do this, I never do that. Come on, bro. Listen,
so
everybody at
condescending.
Fox during Fox's up and coming heydays, there was a lot of partying going on at Fox Tuck when you were there. There was a lot of partying. There was a lot of people who started married, ended up single, ended up married to somebody else who worked at Fox. This was not, an all-girls school with nuns smacking your knuckles for doing the wrong thing. You guys were buck wild, quite literally, buck wild. You and Megan, when that story finally comes, if somebody writes a decent movie about Fox, you're going to see it was the Wild West of conservative press. And lots of people were doing things that, lifted eyebrows, especially in conservative circles. So don't pretend now like you're the Pope. We're not doing that. You're a human being. You put your pants on one leg at a time, just like every other person. It's cringy. It makes people wonder why you think you're that way.
Exactly.
It really does.
And that's all I'm saying, folks. This is all I'm saying. I mean, don't expect us to take you seriously out here, to have you preaching serious politics while you posting barefoot selfies like you're auditioning for a midlife crisis with your toes out. Okay, all I could envision after seeing that photo is him leaning back while the dog's licking his toes and he's and the dog is licking his toes.
You know what they say.
Yeah.
That dog is not a toe licker.
Yeah.
I hope not. I pray that dog is not a toe licker.
Let's see what Super Chatters say. All right, we have Grayscale. Grace Card. Is it Grayscale? I can't. Oh my gosh, my light is here. Grace Card. You $5 super chat. My lights are. This is getting on my nerves tonight. How come people never talk about reparations from the African tribes that sold our ancestors to Europeans first? That's a good question. Thank you for your super chat.
Somalia's got some money now. Maybe we should. We should be looking at some of them African nations. Kenya's got some money from the Somali money. Ilhan Omar has apparently misplaced $29 million somewhere. Yeah. We should definitely be checking for it. Make no mistake.
Yep. As we say, give us free. Give us free.
From Amistad.
Give me my money back is what we say. Give me my money back. It just seems to me, and I don't want to sound racist, but it's okay if you call me racist. I want to know, why is it that Somalis have a hard time holding American money? What's the problem? What is the problem? It seems that they put it in suitcases and take it out of the country and nobody's got nothing to say. And, Ilhan Omar losing $29 million overnight. I feel like they should bring her to the halls of Congress and sit her down and take a look at everybody she knows bank account to see where this money is actually gone and give me my money back.
Right.
Give us our money back. There should be a moratorium on taxes for every American for at least 10 years until they give us our money back.
Oh, yeah.
You want millions? Go get it from Somalia because that's where it is. Kenya, go get our money. Give us our money back. Anyway, you can buy the shirt and join the revolution, folks.
All right, we have a few more super chatters here. Wilfred, thank you for your $2 super chat. Hi from Puerto Rico. Your content bless you. I love your content. Bless you, ladies. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
We have Faith. Thank you for your $5 super chat. What do you think? What do you think this means? What do you think this means for Tucker's son who works in JD's office?
Oh, he got let go. They already let him go. He got let go actually this week, I believe.
Oh, okay.
He was let go.
Okay, cool. We have a couple more super chats here. Producers, are you showing them? Okay, I guess not.
Oh, okay.
All right. That's all.
All right. Let's see here. So, want to talk the final segment of the night. Speaking, we're talking about the conservative side. Let's talk about the Republican side. So I'm sorry, but let's talk about the Democrats. We're going to get back on the Democrats. So you got to see this video of these triggered Democrats, these triggered leftists, I should say, freak out when they respond negatively to comments made by Trump, only to find out the comments were actually made by Democrats. Take a look here. This is clip 7.
Is a destabilizing, dangerous force in the Middle East. Do you agree with him on that at least?
No.
We would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that. And what do you think he meant by saying those people?
White supremacy.
His subhuman people of color. He's becoming very delusional and honestly showing a little bit of signs of dementia.
This is something someone with dementia would say.
Absolutely.
Had Kamala actually won the election, do you think we would even be in this?
Absolutely not.
And they were not falling for this Iran stuff either.
No.
If Hillary Clinton had just won in the first place, maybe we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah, I would go with that.
If he had a kind soul, I think anyone can be beautiful, but he is not beautiful.
Yeah.
He's not beautiful inside or out. He's a horrible person.
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
Yes.
Did you guys vote for Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
We would not be in this position if she were president today.
Or Kamala. The man truly is insane.
Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris said all of that, not Donald Trump.
Really?
Yes.
That makes me very sad.
Are you serious or not?
Yes, they are.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's a gotcha. Good for you.
You've never heard them say this stuff?
No, I haven't.
That was a quote from 2008, right here.
To it. I don't, you know what? Who can believe what we read?
Did you go to the cops about me?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if you needed a permit.
I didn't mean to make you cry.
I'm crying, but
Okay.
it's shameful.
What's shameful about it? There's nothing.
Wow. I actually, the last lady, I didn't know whether she was coming or going. This is, I mean, these people are just really unhinged. Shelley, what are your thoughts?
I think her name wasn't it Katie. I think her name is Katie.
Yeah, Caitlin.
Yeah, I
Caitlin.
love her. She's been doing that for
Yeah.
a long time. I love when she does that. But it goes to show again. We talked about our media earlier, right? Our media is heavily one-sided and is typically against Republicans. Anyone who Republicans, conservatives, especially. So they're going to get this information out as much as they can, and this is what many people consume. That's it. They don't go beyond what they might see on the headlines or the news reel at night. They don't go beyond that. If it fits what they already believe, that's what they're going to stick with.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Nicole, what are your thoughts?
Do you know, I love the reactions of the people once their point of view was challenged, because they were absolutely willing to believe what their eyes were saying and what she read when it was against Trump. It was like, oh yeah, he's a horrible person. She's never even met the man, right? Probably never watched more than 5 seconds of his speech without being fact checked or interrupted by some kind of quote unquote journalist. But what really got me is after they heard that it was made by Hillary Clinton, I just like to call her super predator, Hillary Clinton, and Kamala, the cackle Harris. I mean, it seems to me that they would be like, you know what? That's not the way I heard it. The media I listened to said this thing, because it all does come back down to how the media feeds this narrative to them, and how, because they don't open the window any further than MSNBC, they don't hear any other point of view. So facts are strange to them. So when challenged by facts, the first thing they do is say, oh, I don't believe facts. Oh, you're just saying that. You know, it's a personal affront. They're offended. Instead of saying, man, that's a different point of view. I would have never thought Hillary would say that. All of them felt like she'd slapped them in the face, especially the woman who took the time to match her hair to her skirt. I thought that was a little inventive.
Looking like a big Chucky. All right, we have another super chat here. Who's that from? Kung Fu CJ, thank you for your shout-out to that. And let's make sure we mention that Kung Fu CJ is one of our long-term mods and also a member of our Freedom Seekers Club. The MSM is super biased, and the people are stupid because of their reporting. Yeah, pretty much. They just consume whatever sound bites they get.
Yep, absolutely. I think we missed another one here. Kung Fu CJ.
Kung Fu CJ again, $5. Thank you for that. He says Pastor Damon campaigns for Trump with the Proud Boys. Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Thank you. And another from Gray Scar. We have a $5 super chat. How come people never talk? I think we read this one, but
we did that one.
Reparations from that were sold to our ancestors to the Europeans from our ancestors.
Right. All right.
Thank you for your super chats, everybody. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget, get your merchandise while it's hot. Send us a photo of you wearing the merchandise, our merchandise that you get on the Metro Conservative Media platform, and we will shout you out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, takes us to the end of the night tonight. We will be back on Friday night at 9 p.m. In the meantime, you can catch me tomorrow. Actually, we may not have a show tomorrow night, but definitely check us out, our previous show on at KJ Christian Conservative. You can check me and Michelle out, where we provide a biblical perspective on the latest in news and hot topics. That's at KJ Christian Conservative right here that's the YouTube channel. And then we're also a part of the Metro Conservative Media Network. All right. And then on Saturday, you can check out Just the Guys podcast, and male point of view on news and pop culture every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. You can catch them live. All right, folks. Well, that does it for the night. Ladies, final thoughts. Nicole, final thoughts as we go into our weekend.
So many things are coming at us so fast with America's 250th anniversary. But one of the things I'm looking most forward to is Poppin' Politics hitting 250,000 subscribers. I think that would be super great to do sometime, maybe before July, but at least by July. So everybody share, get a friend to watch, subscribe. Even if you intend only to watch the show one day a week, still subscribe, right? So at least you can pick which day you're going to watch. It would mean the world to us to make this our A250 celebration with you by reaching 250,000 subscribers. That would be amazing. I dare say, I might even get KJ and Shelly to, maybe have a little party on a Wednesday night live when we're in the studio, maybe a little champagne, little flowers, something to celebrate. It is a huge thing for YouTube, and it's a huge thing for the show. So we're asking that you share. We're asking that you join us in Discord. There's some really cool stuff that happens there, and also buy your merchandise.
All right. Final thoughts, Shelly.
Look, it's the weekend's coming. I hope it's going to be nice wherever you are. Nice weather. I'm going to say this. I haven't said it in a while. Stand up. Speak up, show up, and strap up, and get out there, feel the grass, whatever. I'm planning on this weekend, hopefully going to pop off some rounds. I want to hear some pop and smell the lead. I just can't wait. I can smell it. Not like Tucker Buck's feet, but
smells like cheese. Smells like cheese.
All right. Well, folks, what I want to say is, before we go, you got to check out Shelly. She's going to be on Fox 45 News tonight at 10 p.m. You got to check her out. Of course, she's going to give her unapologetic, unfiltered opinion on all things that are happening in Baltimore City. You want to share just a little bit about what you talk about, Shelly?
So it's we were talking about the school board here in Baltimore, and basically the increase in salaries and personnel, all commensurate with the education system for the students still going down, basically, in a nutshell.
All right, absolutely. And folks, this is why we go so hard about what we're seeing in this country, what we're seeing, how the Democrats are lying and cheating and trying to just maintain and gain additional power, because we see what's going on right here in Maryland. I mean, just on Fox 45, they announced earlier today, now in Maryland, raising a child costs more than anywhere else in the country, folks. We pay more taxes, or let's say parents pay more taxes, more fees in everyday costs than anywhere else in the country. And people are leaving for it. All right. But I just pray they don't leave with their same politics to some of these better run states and ruin those, elect more Democrats in those states. But what we're saying here is we want to sound the alarm on these policies that the left is pushing, their agenda. We got to stop it. And we need your help. So please, as you can, share this broadcast, share it in a DM, send it on your social media, in an email, and a text message. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. As Nicole mentioned, we have a goal to hit 250,000 subscribers by 4th of July for the 250th anniversary of America. That would be so wonderful. So please join us as we warn everybody. We warn everybody what we're seeing.
Absolutely.
All right. That does it for us tonight. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night.